everyone, it's Sandy, and today I'm doing the Bookish Thanksgiving Tag created by Becca and Erica from Fangirl City. With this tag, there's basically like a list of foods, and there are questions associated with each type of food. Number 1 is bread, which book is fluffy and has no real plotline. I don't own this book, but I picked The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This is the first book, not the second or third. The second and third does have more plot in it. But the first one, nothing really happens in the first one, so that's why I picked it. It's not my favorite book. I didn't really enjoy that book, but I do think that the trilogy gets better as it goes on. Next is Turkey. What book made you want to fall asleep? The book I picked is a book, again, that I don't own because I did not like it, so I got rid of it, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. That book was just so long, I just wanted to fall asleep. Before I read The Diviners, I've owned it for a really long time, and I decided to just read it to get it out of my TBR, and I was basically forcing myself to read the entire book. I'm glad that I have read it, but I hated the fact that I did read it because it was such a waste of my time, honestly. Next is Gravy. What book makes the whole series worth reading? The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. If you've read this book, you know the ending. After reading that part, you just had to read the rest of the books to find out what happens next. Next is Stuffing. What book is stuffed full of action scenes? Prodigy by Marie Lu. This book has a ton of action scenes, and it was very fast-paced, and it was my favorite book out of the entire trilogy. So yeah, definitely full of action. Next is Mashed Potatoes. What book looked good, but then wasn't? The Coldest Girl in Coal Town. I didn't hate this book, but I didn't love it either. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, which isn't that bad of a rating, but I just didn't like it as much as I hoped to. Next is Cranberries. What book has the sweetest romance? Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Kath and Levi are just the cutest, and I love them so much. Next is Corn. What is the corniest book you have ever read? I actually couldn't think of a book for this one, but I'm going to pick a book that appears corny, but it really isn't. Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. The word vampire automatically kind of makes you want to like step away from the book, and that is how I felt too when I first picked this book up. I was not expecting to love it as much as I do just because of the word vampire and how it, like, whenever I think of vampire I always think of Twilight, and yeah, like that's how everyone thinks of now. Whatever new vampire thing comes out, it's always compared to Twilight, and I hate that because it's not the same. And now I've learned to not judge like any vampire book or movie or TV show to be like Twilight, because everything's completely different. Yes, it's about vampires, but it's not the same. I love this series. I thought it was going to be corny, but it totally wasn't. Next is Green Beans. What book is too long and needs to be shortened? If I haven't already used this book already, I would have said The Diviners, but since I've already used that for a question, I'm going to pick Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. First off, I love the Throne of Glass series. I still do. I just think that Air of Fire was a bit too long. This book is over 500 pages, and there was a lot of like slow moments, which could have been shortened or removed. But yeah, I still really enjoyed the book. It just wasn't my favorite so far in the whole series. Next is Pumpkin Pie. What book do you read to get out of a reading slump? Honestly, I don't get in reading slumps that often. Like the only like reading slump that I get into is when I'm too busy to read. But if I did get into a reading slump, my go-to author would probably be a Jennifer L. Armentrout book. Jennifer L. Armentrout writes such funny books, and they're very entertaining. Once you start getting into the book, it goes by really fast, and next thing you know, it's been a couple hours later and you're like halfway through the book or close to finishing it. So I think her books would definitely be a really great choice to read to get out of a reading slump. The next item isn't a food item, it is an animal, and that is a dog or a cat. What's your favorite Thanksgiving food that you would steal from the table? My family doesn't really celebrate Thanksgiving, like we don't have like a traditional Thanksgiving meal, but if my family did have a traditional Thanksgiving meal, then it would probably be corn or turkey, because I love corn and turkey. They're both really delicious. So yeah, that would be my answer. That is all for the tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!